I'd like to invite the speakers for our next panel up to the stage. In this panel, Educator Voice, Sustaining American Rescue Plan Victories for Students, Educators, and Schools, we will hear from the NEA and an educator in Vermont about how ARP-funded investments are making a difference school-wide. I'm pleased to introduce Conor Hurley, Senior Program Specialist and Policy Analyst at the National Education Association's Education Policy and Implementation Center. He focuses on the implementation of the American Rescue Plan Act. Previously, he served as campaign manager and political strategist for races around the country. Hurley successfully managed races from mayor to U.S. Senate. Joanne Smith is a kindergarten interventionist at Brookside Primary School in Waterbury, Vermont. She accepted an ESSER ARP-funded position where she works with kindergarten students on math, reading, fine gross motor skills, and social and emotional learning through small group work and targeted interventions. Finally, Rebecka Peterson is the 2023 National Teacher of the Year and the 2022 Oklahoma State Teacher of the Year. Rebecka has spent the last year highlighting teacher stories of the good work that's happening in education, and we're looking forward to her moderating today's panel.
Hello, everybody. It's nice to meet you. Thank you for having me. I'm Conor Hurley. I'm a Senior Program Specialist and Policy Analyst with the National Education Association, and I'm so happy to have with us two of the phenomenal educators who have done so much to improve the lives of our students and improve public education around the country. What I think the pandemic showed, and one of the things that we're all talking about here, is the human component to education. We saw what happens when educators and our professionals who work in this line of work are not able to be with our children on a regular basis, to be with our kids. And so I'm very thankful to CCSSO for giving the opportunity for educators to share their voice and their experience and talk about what they know firsthand dealing with our students on a day-to-day basis. And so I want to hand this over to Rebecka. Congratulations again, Rebecka, and Joanne, who, as was said, is a phenomenal educator from Vermont who has a lot to say on how important and impactful these funds have been to our students. So thank you so much to CCSSO, and I look forward to hearing from both of you.
Thank you, Conor. Yes. I do want to reiterate what Conor said, and thank you to CCSSO for centering teacher voice. And so, Joanne, welcome. Yeah. Would you mind introducing yourself, kind of how long you've taught, and also introducing us to your community and your school?
Sure. Yeah. So I am, I guess, what they call these days a seasoned veteran. I am in my 30th year of teaching, mainly working with first and second graders. But I have early childhood endorsement, and I started out my career in a preschool, so coming down to kindergarten felt really natural and lovely. Let's see, our community, so Waterbury is located in central Vermont. We are not quite rural, not quite suburban. Main industries are ice cream. Maybe some of you have visited Ben & Jerry's ice cream factory. So ice cream, beer, and coffee, which is great. But we also serve as a kind of like a tourist hub for central Vermont. We're located very close to many ski resorts and great activities in the summertime too, biking and hiking. Our school is one of the larger schools, I think, in Vermont. Vermont tends to be a state with many, many small rural schools and a few like larger urban schools. But again, like it's really funny, what's urban, you know, it's all relative. Listening to the folks from North Carolina earlier, I was like, my mind was just like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine. But so we're a pre-K4, and our fifth graders go to our middle school, Crosswick Brook Middle School, and then we have one high school for our district. We have 6 elementary schools and 1 other middle school. So,
awesome. Well, for those who don't know, can you kind of explain what a kindergarten interventionist is? Sort of high level, what does your job look like?
Sure, absolutely. So In Vermont, we use the MTSS system. I think a lot of schools do. We, over the past few years, through new legislation, we've been moving towards just a different special ed qualification model and a different model in terms of how we are how services are being provided to students who need extra services. So going from a very tiered model, now that it's more of a layered model. So the idea is that the person who's most capable to provide the services that the student needs is the person that would be doing it. So for instance, I do mainly focus in kindergarten, but I also have, I have a third grader who came to our school this year unschooled. So he, partly due to COVID and other things, has not been in school. This third grade year is his very first year in school. So I've been working with him one-on-one. I have a second grade group that I'm working with and also a first grade group. So the idea is that whichever person is most qualified to provide the services that the student needs, that's the person who would give those services, whether you're a special educator or not. Like if the student has an IEP, I'm highly qualified to provide literacy services. So I'm able to do that. So it's kind of an interesting thing. The other kind of switch is that intervention used to be like a very much of a pull-out model. So students were pulled out of their tier 1, which is their universal classroom, pulled out to receive these intervention services, which serve as like a kind of like so there's tier 1, that's the classroom, and then tier 2 is like that kind of like intermediary. Oh, wow, you know, through assessment data, we're noticing, oh, this kiddo is not meeting those benchmarks that we want them to meet. Let's provide some support, right? And so traditionally that always looked like a pull-out tutoring kind of a thing. And what we're trying to move towards in Vermont is that would look more like, sometimes it can be a pull-out if that's what the student needs, but it could also be a push-in. It could be the interventionist working in the classroom with the classroom teacher to support that classroom teacher at the universal level. It could look like a consultancy kind of a model where maybe I'm meeting with the classroom teacher and I'm providing some ideas and support on how they could differentiate a little bit more or tweak their lesson a little bit so that they're really focusing in on exactly what their students need. So an interventionist is just a person that intervenes or helps and supports students that need it, and the classroom teacher as well. And I think that is the really exciting thing about what I've been able to bring to the position is that because I was a classroom teacher for so long and have a strong background in literacy, I was able to kind of build capacity in the classroom teachers that I was working with. Our kindergarten team happens to be a quite, they're new teachers, like they're brand new to the profession. So I was able to build capacity knowing that my position was only funded for 2 years, knowing that eventually I was going to be going away from that position. And so really working with those teachers and even like modeling lessons. So I would go in and model different literacy lessons. Those classroom teachers could watch me. So it had quite of a mentoring kind of a look in terms of like supporting the teachers and the students. I mean, I could go on and on, you guys. It's been such a great experience for me to be able to just have the time and the bandwidth, not having my own classroom, to really be able to like support teachers and also be a leader in my district around literacy. So I helped to form a literacy leadership team, really focusing on K2 called PLAY, Prioritizing Literacy Achievement, y'all, but for everyone. And so, you know, as a classroom teacher, sometimes it's very draining to go to a 2-hour meeting after teaching all day. But in this role, because I don't have the demands of a classroom teacher, I have the brain power to go and meet for 2 hours after school and plan Dibbles assessments or adopting, you know, Amplify, or what kind of PD can we provide, or, you know, let's take a look at, let's create spreadsheets and data and all the fun stuff that everybody's been talking about today. So that's been really nice too for me to be able to grow and share in my capacity in that way. And ESSER funds provided that opportunity. And I think that, you know, our district has really been able to move the needle forward on a lot of our science of reading work and a lot of our just, you know, using, you know, evidence-based practices to make sure that our students are making the gains that we want them to make.
Yeah, I've heard you refer to K2 literacy as a civil rights issue.
Yeah.
Can you kind of expand a bit more on that?
Yeah. So I was talking to somebody the other day, and she said, well, you know, you should like start a tutoring company, or you should, you know, you could like, you know, teach here or there. And I said, no, I'm committed to public education. Public education is, yeah, I know, all you guys too. Public education is the cornerstone of a civic democracy, and we cannot have democracy without literacy. Like, there is absolutely no way that we can have that. So it is a civil right, and it is an equity issue, because we know that every child is capable of learning to read. It's not I would say almost all students are 100% capable of learning to read. It is not a capability issue, it's an opportunity and a resource issue. So we need to make sure as educators that we are providing those opportunities, and we're making sure that there's equity in resources so that all students have that opportunity to learn to read and write and become empowered citizens.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
I wonder if we could kind of zoom in as well. As a mom and as a teacher, I know like the power that having a second adult in the classroom makes. And I know that what you're offering, you know, means a great deal to the students, but I imagine it means a great deal to the teachers in whose classrooms you get to be in. So can you kind of talk about the teachers that you support as well, and what that means for them?
Yeah. I think for me, like, I always walk into a classroom and I think, like, if I was the classroom teacher right now, like, what would I want this person to be? What kind of energy would I want? And so I use that, all of those years of having people in and out of my room a lot, to guide me in being just like that supportive person that can see things happening like before. Like, I don't need the teacher to say, go sit next to that kiddo. Or I don't need the teacher, classroom teachers have so much on their plate, right? And so sometimes it feels like when your principal says, guess what? We hired this new IA. I can't wait. They're gonna come be working in your classroom. Like, yay. And like, they walk into the classroom and they're lovely and they're brand new and they're so green. But then it's like, guess what? I have another student. Like, thanks for my, 19th student. Like, thank you so much. So for me, like, I have years and years and years and years of experience. I know what to say, what to whisper, what to offer gently to, like, maybe clarify a point that the teacher is trying to make. Or if the teacher says, I didn't have time to plan for the small group today, can you just like go take these kids and like just, like do some math with them? Well, of course I can do that. I can do that 100%. I mean, I could do that with my hand tied behind my back, right? And so, she looks over and she's like, wow, that was great. Like, what were you doing? I was like, yeah, we were practicing our numbers. Like, we were, So I think, like, just taking that weight off of a teacher's shoulders and knowing that this support that she's going to get is actual real support. Like, it's not like I have to plan it, I have to think about it. And then again, like, this whole idea of, like, knowing that my position was going away and really, really making sure that I was building capacity. So, teaching the teachers how to do the assessments, teaching the teachers how to use their data, like meeting with them and showing them, okay, this is what your data is showing you, this is what the lesson plan is, this is how we're going to tweak it, this is what you can do. So really building that capacity, because, I don't know what I'm doing next year. I think I'm probably going back to the classroom, hopefully not a 6th grade classroom. I do have a K-6 license, so it could be a 6th grade classroom, but I'm hopefully it will be somewhere still in the pre-K to world. Yeah.
I know you mean a lot to those teachers. When I hear you speak, I'm kind of transported to my first year of teaching, and I had just these massive Algebra 2 classes. Had this one class, of course, after lunch with like 35 students, but there were enough students on IEPs that I had a special education teacher who pushed in, and every time she walked in, I just like exhaled, you know, and she wasn't there to teach me.
Yeah.
You know, she was there to support students, but she taught me so much and so gently.
Yeah.
And just sort of the, especially because a lot of these teachers that you work with are first year teachers, and I think that first year teaching, it matters so much, largely to have a witness, right, with somebody to be like,
Totally.
is this happening?
Yeah. You like make the eye contact, like, oh my gosh, or you could just giggle, like that was the cutest thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And I want to just make sure I love our IAs. Believe me, like I'm not dissing IAs in any way. I think they're amazing. They help us out so much. I think that sometimes there are naysayers who might say like, well, why would we pay somebody like you know, to go in and be that kind of support? And it's just like a different level of understanding and a different level of support. But that IA support and that support that we get is still 100% great. And I did love, you know, always supporting any person who decides to make education their career. I'm happy to support and just be there for that person. So
amazing.
Yeah.
So we know this has had an impact on students. It's had an impact with the teachers you work with. But I'm curious, like, how has the impact been for you and for your professional growth? What has the job sort of meant for you?
Yeah, I think so. As I was saying earlier, like just having the opportunity, like this opportunity today. Thank you to the CCSSO and NEA and Vermont NEA for just bringing forward teacher voice and student voice, and having an opportunity to just to be more of a leader. I think sometimes for teachers it feels like, you know, you can, you know, leave the classroom and become an administrator, or you just kind of like keep on keeping on, you know. And but I feel like there's many of us who've been teaching for a long time. We have a lot to offer. We have a lot, and I have a lot of energy and a lot of passion. And so it's been great for me with the ESSER funds to be able to just live this amazing dream job that I have right now, which is it's great.
Yeah, I think
I still get all the student contact. I still get to, one of the things when I was just seeing all the wonderful things you're doing in St. Paul, we also have a very strong outdoor learning focus. I was one of the first teachers to adopt an outdoor learning plan where one afternoon a week we just spend all through the school year, like winter, spring, summer, fall. We go outside and we're outside with the kids all afternoon. And so in my kindergarten intervention position this year, I'm still able to do that with the kindergartners. So I'm able to go out and still like play in the snow and play in the mud and you know, learn about birds and bugs and trees and weeds. So, you know, all of that is really important. You know, the many different facets of social emotional learning, that small group work that I do with students, and yeah, it's just great. I feel like I get to explore all of that.
Yeah, I think it's so beautiful that your district found a way for you to grow and expand and like push into and lean into that lifelong learning aspect.
Yeah, and I will offer too that I think that seeing the success that the kindergarten team had with, because the model, the intervention kind of way that I did intervention with the kindergarten team last year was not the way that the other intervention teachers were necessarily doing their job. They were more of just, like I was saying earlier, just like that pull-out model. And I think we saw such success from the model, just like in our scores and in just teachers saying how supportive it was, that we implemented that school-wide. So now all of the other interventionists are also pushing in and working more collaboratively with their classroom teachers that they work with. So again, like even though one of our intervention positions is going away, what I'm really excited and hopeful for is that the rest of the intervention team will continue to do that push-in model and to continue to think about how they can build capacity and build collaboration with the classroom teachers they're working with.
Yeah, amazing. So I understand ESSER funds were used to sort of create this position. Can you kind of talk about how that came to be? And you've sort of touched on this, but are there plans to sustain the position once the funds sunset in the fall?
Yeah, so our district decided to really put a lot of our ESSER funds into these intervention positions. Like it was really felt that we wanted to really think about academic recovery, think about SEL, and really invest that amazing amount of money that we had into adults and into teachers. So, and then this idea of the kindergarten interventionist was just something that kind of came out of a kindergarten teacher and the superintendent, and some people kind of talking like, I mean, that was the amazing thing about these ESSER funds, right? Like Dr. Harris spoke about it when she was speaking. It was kind of like this, like, what can we do? Like, there was like this hope that we can really like change the way we were doing things, not just like go back to the way it used to be. So the idea of like, we've never really been able to focus on kindergarten. We've always been like, oh yeah, kindergarten, like we'll start working on them in first grade. And we know that for the first half of kindergarten, certainly students do need to be settling in. And I'm not going in October and pulling small groups of students out by any means. So, but the idea that we could really focus on kindergarten and we could really start to especially support the classroom teachers in making sure that they were using best practices around early numeracy and early literacy, that what we would see, and we have begun to see that already, is that the need for interventionists at like second grade, third grade, fourth grade, right? Like we would start to see that really drop off. So again, kind of like putting ourselves out of a job, but that's fine. That's what we want. We want to build capacity at the tier 1 level.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did I answer your question?
Yeah. Well, are there plans to sustain the position?
Oh, yeah. Plans to sustain, no. Vermont is in a very, very, very difficult fiscal situation right now. So I think we're scrambling. Everyone's scrambling a bit. We had, I don't know, I'm not great with numbers, but I'm getting better because I'm working on it, because my brain can grow. I think it was like 30% of school budgets across the state of Vermont failed because we're just dealing with a lot of issues with funding and fiscal things. And anyway, so no, so my position right now will not continue. But as I said, I think that through my advocacy and through just modeling like how to work collaboratively with classroom teachers and really focus, I am hopeful that we will continue to focus on kindergarten. Even if we only have 4 interventionists instead of 5, that we would continue to focus on kindergarten.
Yeah.
And that model would also spread throughout our district in central Vermont, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. To learn from the lessons.
Yeah, I mean, we all know that early intervention and early, like getting in there early, it really does pay off. So, I'm hoping that will be something that will continue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we were like in the thick of the pandemic, I kept being like, this is our time, like it's our time to reimagine. And then I felt like we just sort of went back, I suppose, and I was frustrated in a way. And then it kind of dawned on me like we needed to like catch our breath and reset and recoup. And so my hope is that like now is the time, that now that we've learned a lot, to start reimagining and start sort of reinventing.
Yeah. I think that we have big challenges, but even just from what we've heard today, like we have big challenges, but we have the answers. Like we really know what works, right? SEL, like a focus on SEL, like climate, like making sure kids have adults that care about them, outdoor learning, experiential learning, and yes, data, and yes, assessment, science of reading, yes. Like we have all the answers, so it's just a matter of just putting that focus and energy into continuing to make those things happen. And I believe that we can. I believe we can.
Yeah. What would you want policymakers to know about the impact of these recovery funds on your school, your community?
Yeah, I mean, it has made a difference. It really has. I don't have my data slides to share right now, but I promise you it has made a difference. And, it takes time, right? So recovery is a long process. So I don't know, I think oh yeah, we're out of COVID, COVID's done and the recovery money is gone. So we all must be over, but it's not over, right? We all know that. It's not over for adults, and it's for sure not over for kids. Yeah. So I guess I would want policymakers to know that, as I said earlier, we have the answers. We know what works. We know what supports kids and teachers. We just need to find the political wherewithal and the money in some ways, but maybe not as much as we think, but to just continue to support our teachers and to support our kids, really,
Yeah, our kids have changed,
Yeah.
and I think as adults we've changed
totally,
as well.
Yeah.
So I wonder if we can kind of end with, again, just really centering teacher voice, and if I could end with just what keeps you in the classroom, what keeps you coming back every August?
Just those teacher goosebumps, give me or a connection. Teacher goosebumps, right? A kid, you see the kiddo making the connection, or being kind to a friend in the hallway, or choosing to use their words instead of knock somebody down, or sitting in a team meeting with my kindergarten teachers and just seeing feeling the collaboration and feeling the problem solving and feeling the ability to let's look at the data, let's not be afraid of it, right? Because sometimes teachers are just afraid of the data, but not being afraid of it. I just love it, and I love just everything that's been happening in our school around science of reading. I see so many teachers growing and changing in their understanding of what really needs to happen for students K-2 in terms of their literacy development. So that's super exciting. I just love kids, and I love teachers, and I love schools. So that's
It's evident. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Joanne, for sharing your heart and letting us peek into your classroom and your work. I know you've given us so much to think about, so appreciate your time here, certainly, but what you do for your students in Vermont every day. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Rebecca. Thank you for, it was great. Yeah.